What's going on, guys? Breakman17, welcome back to the channel. Today we're on the desk. We're going to look at a little bit of programming on the ESU programmer, but I wanted to talk about why I'm doing this video. Occasionally I get messages and emails from guys asking how to do something or how to achieve a certain effect, and a lot of times I just kind of write the email and send it on its way. But there's some instances like this that are easier to explain through a video and show you guys the actual programmer and how I go through everything step by step. And it's just easier to do it this way versus typing it up. And I've been wanting to do more of these response type videos to emails that I get. So just the other day, I got an email from a gentleman named Mike. Mike says, "Hi Shane." Starts off, "Hi Shane, man, genius. Have to say that first. Watch your YouTube videos where you use dual loc sound cards in the loco and a cab car." If you guys haven't seen that video, he's referring to the F59 PHI and the cab car that I did. I've been using loc sound in locos and I'm hooked. Can you give me some details on how you did that? I'm assuming the locos were wired normal. The sound car would have red lights for forward and white ditch lights and headlights wired for reverse since the loco is running backwards. Yes and no, we'll get to that in a minute. I'm confused on how you swap them so easily with F7 though. That has me stumped. I have the loc sound programmer, so it's easy to do programming, but I have to get it right in my head first. Can you give me some guidance? Thanks for your time and information you can pass along, Mike. So I got this email, and the first thing I thought was, well, yeah, that's pretty easy. I can tell you exactly how I do it, no problem. It's actually a question I've got before on how I do my consisting. I always have a definite leader and a definite tail, and I can swap which one's leading by pressing F7. I don't have to do any consisting. I don't have to break anything in the system. Everything is the same address. All I have to do is just hit F7 and instantly the other end's the leader. The only tricky part about it is forward is still forward in the consist and reverse is still reverse. So F7, one button push versus having to unconsist and reconsist everything is much easier. Going through the email, I appreciate the compliments. In terms of the way I hook everything up, I try not to hook anything backwards intentionally. As goofy as that sounds. Everything that I do is actually wired up correct. So all my headlights are on the forward headlights, the reverse lights are on the reverse, the ditch lights were on auxiliary functions. I hook everything up the same way I normally would, whether the locomotive is leading or not. The only difference that you can make, or the difference I change on that is if it's on the end of the consist, there's a checkbox in there, and I show it in the video because I've actually already pre-recorded the how to do this. I'm filming the intro afterwards now. But there's a checkbox that reverses the facing of the engine. So anything that's either tailing or facing the other way, I check that reverse box. So no, I don't wire anything backwards. Everything's wired up correct where it should be most of the time. And then I just use that reverse box, or that reverse direction box, or function mapping to get the effect that I want. But no, I don't ever hook anything up backwards. In terms of how I do it on the F7, the video right after this will show you exactly how to do that as if I was putting those together in a consist. So I walk through step by step on both decoders how I set both of them up. So you're going to get to see how I do the tail, how I do the head, and then everything in between. The only difference on the ones between is I take out the horn and the bell. Just because they're never going to lead, you're never going to use any of the lights on them, so I don't map them to anything. Everything else I leave in place. But like I said, go through the video first, and then you'll kind of understand why I'm saying this now, only because I forgot to put it in. This will walk you through everything you need to know. So, Mike, I hope this helps you a lot. If you have any other questions, let me know. And if you guys have any other videos you want to see, I know I've got another guy that asked me about something else. I don't recall what it was off the top of my head. Oh, doing custom sounds, which I'm working on a video for that. It'll be a little bit of a longer video. I might have to do a chunk or two on it, but it'll show you how to take it from the raw file all the way to getting it into the decoder and mapping it. So keep an eye out for that video. I'll get you right to this one now. I've got a camera here set up on both of my engines. I've got an SPNS E7 number 750 and an F unit, F7 SP 6315. Both of them have ESU version 5s, or sorry, ESU 5s installed in them. On the screen here, you can see I've got both of my files up. My SPNS is over here, and my SP's here. I actually need to turn those functions off while I'm here. You'll see the SPNS up here at the top is currently addressed for number 750, and my SP unit is still 03. That'll also show over here in the address section under decoder. For the sake of the example here, we're going to use 750 as our leader. When I do these consistings, I don't change anything in terms of your function mapping. So we'll go back to the SPNS unit because this is going to be our leader. In decoder, under mapping, as you can see here, everything is set up no different than what I normally set up any of my consist or any of my normal engines under. I never set up any of the the rear lighting effects. Very few of my engines run independent. Most of my stuff is consisted, so very few of my engines have rear lights. If they do, they'll be up here in F0 reverse, or with the proto throttle, I'll usually put them on a higher function I can't get on a regular throttle, and then adjust the proto throttle to hit those functions on the turn knobs at the bottom. But what we're going to do here is, essentially, you're looking for this not 6, and it can be whatever function you want, but this is the key right here, and I'll explain a little bit more as we go. But as you can see, I got my headlights on 0, Mars lights, red Mars light, marker lights with the engine startup as well, and the rest of the sound functions, your independent brakes, your flange squeals, the dimmer for the lights, horn, bells, so on and so forth. So the way I set this up is one of these is going to be looking for a certain function on, and one will be looking for a certain function off. I should back up and say the biggest key to this is actually the engines both have to have the same address. Now, this is not an issue on Digitrax, NCE, a lot of DCC systems. If you're using the newer ESU system, you're going to have to go into the address and set up a DCC consist address. The ESU system does not like decoders, specifically ESU decoders, to have the same address. If you put them both on there, the system automatically reads it, and it'll want to kick back one of the engines to a new address. It doesn't like the same address. So if you're running Digitrax or NCE or any of those other systems, this consist style will work just fine for you. So both engines have to be the same address. So for our example, we're going to make the SP unit 750 as well, but we'll get back to that when we go to program that one. So under the SP and S unit, the actual 750, we're going to go back down to function mapping. And the way I set this up, like I said, you can pick any function here. If you want it to be 1, 2, 3, 5, 23, doesn't matter. I use 7 on all mine. All mine are always set up for F7, just because I usually don't put anything in F7. It's kind of always been my reserve for my consisting key. So, as you can see here, function 7, nothing in physical outputs, nothing in logic outputs, and nothing in sound. Completely blank across the board, nothing mapped to it. And we're going to leave it that way. You're not going to put anything into 7, we're not going to add anything to any of those columns, we're just going to leave F7 just like it is. So, now, when you go through and set all your headlights, your horn, your bell, this is everything you're going to want to set for not F7. So, whichever one you want to be your default leader, in this case, will be 750. So 750 will be our default leader at all times. 750 is going to be our not F7 or F7 off. So going through everything, you can see I've got a not F6 here, and that's for my red marker light. And I'll show you here over on the driver's side. If you watch the nose on this E unit, there's my headlight. There's my Mars light. If I go to 6, there's my red marker light. And you see both my headlight and my white marker light are now out. So what that is saying is as long as the functions are active for 0 or 5, but F6 is not on, that both of those will work. But as long as those are on, it voids that thinking on the mapping. So as soon as I turn 6 back off, both of them are on again. So that's what that not 6 is. You can actually get these decoders to monitor which function keys you have on and off, which is the key to this consisting. So what I'm going to do is go through and everything that I want to be independent of the other one, such as the headlight is going to be not F7, the horn is also going to be not F7, or sorry, the bell there, this is the horn. The air compressors, so it's up to you guys how you set up some of these sound effects. I think it's kind of neat when all your dynamic brakes come on at the same time, or if you have one that's non-dynamic, you'll put coast up there. I think it's neat when all your flange squeal, all your independent brake stuff comes on, so I leave all this stuff just as is. That way, when you've got them both running, when you press the button, both units' sound effects come on. So I'll leave both of those as is. We're also going to go through and not F7 my lighting functions. And this is key as well for your headlight or your lighting on each end of the locomotive. Air compressors, all that fun stuff. So really the biggest thing you want to do is anything that you can control from the cab that you're going to want on that leader. So your horn, bell, and lights are mostly the big things. Everything else you're pretty well going to operate together in consist. So all those are going to be set for not F7. So what it's saying is as long as F5, or for the red marker light, as long as F6 is on but not 7, then the red marker light and all your lighting and your horn and your bell will work on this side. So now, when I go to program this, because I've actually got them hooked up to the same track, I have to disconnect one of them as I program them, otherwise I'll program both of them. So we are going to write that in. And as you can see, that's going to write all that decoder data now to where all those functions are going to look for not F7. There it goes. Okay, so now if I go back over here, fire the engine back up, we've got headlights, we've got Mars light, red marker light, I got a bell there. But if I turn on 7, all that goes away. I have no bell, I have no horn, no headlights, nothing. But I should have all my other functions available. It should still run. I got movement there. So everything else on this engine is still working just fine until I turn off 7. So if I turn the headlight and Mars light back on, I turn 7 back off, I get everything again. So what it's doing now is this unit's going to look for when 7 is off, and we're going to set this one to opposite when this one is looking for 7 on. So we'll stop this. So essentially the SP unit's already set up, and you're going to want to speed match these and get them fine-tuned ahead of time. That way when you start programming them at the same time, or programming them together, you're not trying to mess with speed matching and whatnot. So always get your engine set up motor-wise ahead of when you go to set all your functions. So now we're going to flip over to the SP side. So this is the SP engine. As you can see, it's still 03, and I'm actually going to disconnect the SP and SE unit, and we'll plug back in the SP unit here. Okay. So the SP unit is now hooked into track power. We'll go over here to the tester, and you can see there's our headlight, there's our gyro light, there's our bell. So everything works just as it should. And this one I don't believe I've changed too much of the mapping around on. As you can see, like I said, that address is still 3. Function mapping wise, yep, looks like the coupler's still in 3. So there's a couple sounds that I change around. I put air compressor up here and some other bits, but beyond that, mostly all the same. So we're going to go through this one the same way, but we're going to start up here at the top. We're going to go to here and change this to 750. And then in driving characteristics, we need this to be reversed. Now, this is actually hooked up backwards to start with. So I'm going to uncheck it, but your second unit will need to be set in reverse unless you're running them elephant style in terms of both cabs are forward. Then you'll set them the same and just set your tail lighting up this way. But both of these will be running what would be tail to tail. So we're setting up our cab headlights to be the technical reverse. So you're going to set those reverse. Going to go down here to function mapping. And like I said, you see headlights, gyro lights, and nothing on 7. There used to be something here. You don't want drive on. You're just looking straight 7, nothing across it. I don't have any extra lighting in that F unit, so you can see 6 is blank. But we're going to go through and do the exact same thing, except for this time we are looking for 7 on. So now what's that saying is the only time the headlight or any logical sound or physical output out here will work, F0 and 7 have to be on. It's kind of the whole point of these conditions. It's the conditions in which any of one of these out here will work. That's why there's stop and drive F8s down here. There's an F8 not 16 for air dryer shutdown stuff. It's the way you get around certain functions coming on and off depending on what other ones play out. And it helps increase that prototypical accuracy depending on what you're doing, especially in some of the braking stuff. So we're going to go through and do the same thing here. F7 on. F7 on, F7 on. Okay, so that should be my headlight, horn, or bell, horn, and gyro light. Everything else I want it to work just the way I have it. So The prime movers both come on 8. The independent brakes are on 10. I think some of this other stuff's moved around, but I'm not going to worry about it too much right now. And we're going to write that into the decoder as well. So you see we're only writing decoder data, we're not writing decoder sounds. You're just changing the programming, just the formatting on here. We're not doing any of the sound stuff today, so you don't have to wait that long time for it all to overwrite. As long as you're just making small changes here, you can just write the data. So now when I go back up here and I hit go, you can see now that none of my headlights are on or off. So if I turn 7 on now, you can see all my lighting comes back, I get a bell and a horn. So if I stop this, plug the SPS unit, turn off 7, turn off everything, we'll go straight from blank. So now this is essentially what we have set up. Is this is our head, this is our tail, this is technically facing backwards. This is the same way I have that tail car and F59 set up on my install channel side. This is your leader, this is your tail, and depending on what you're doing, there's your lights, there's your headlights. We're running along up to the next town on the line. We get there, we run around the train, we're ready to go back. Well, we need to switch engines. By simply clicking F7, this is now our leader. We didn't turn the consist, we didn't have to do any hard consisting on the DCC system. All I had to do was push one button, and now I'm going the other way. Because we reversed this one, when you run this one in forward, this one will run in reverse. When you run this one in forward, this one runs in reverse. When you flip the direction on your throttle, because they're both the same address, they're going to do the exact same thing. So a lot of these functions are set up to monitor the exact same way. Like I said, I like it when both the air compressors come on, or both dynamic brakes come on when you go into the dynamic brakes. So it's up to you what you guys want to be specific to each engine in terms of what you put on your alternating function. And if you wanted to put them on, you know, if you wanted certain functions to be on with 6s on or 7s on, it's completely customizable. So it's whatever you guys feel comfortable with, whatever you want to put into your consist. I usually just put the bell, the horn, and the headlights. Everything else, I let it all play out just the way it is. Only because the brake sound effects and all the vents and fan sound effects sound really good when both units are playing at the same time. So, but that's it. All you're looking at is whatever that alternating function is. One's going to be looking for it on, one's going to be looking for it off, and that's your criteria for it. So, if there's any other questions, let me know, guys. I'm trying to get around to some more of these emails and comments. I've got a little free time, so I'm trying to make some of these ESU how-to videos, especially since I have a clean desk and time to get back on the computer and do some more screen recordings here. I know it's a lot easier to walk you guys through the software side of it as well as be able to see the example of it too. I've got another video coming out about a little bit of sound delaying on the sound side as well as some custom sounds. I know there's been a lot of guys asking me about how do I upload custom sounds, how do I do that. So I'm going to show you guys how I do it. You can ask a lot of people. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I'm going to show you how I do a lot of my radio recording sound effects, a lot of my radio audio that I have programmed into my engines. I'll show you how I take them into the editor, chop them up to what I need, and then move them over to the programmer and put them in. So if there's anything else, guys, you let me know.